Good afternoon, blessed people. Welcome to the 2 p.m. newscast coming to you from Royal 88.4 FM. We are live in the Thompson studio. We take you to our headlines. The 6th-year Youth Day celebration is underway across the country at the 20th May Boulevard here in Yaoundé. The event was presided over by Youth Affairs and Civic Education Minister Mununa Fosso.
It was a wonderful march past, as you see, boosted by the speech of the head of sales of yesterday, who asked young people to be committed, engaged in their actions.
Get the echoes of the celebration across the city of Yaoundé with our batteries of reporters who are on the field and still to come in this edition of Royal Afternoon Edition, when senior reporter Mapala Zita, our editor-in-chief, comes and joins me with our foreign page. Our focus will be on Zambia, where there is a head-off between the family of late former President Edgar Lungu and the Zambia High Court. Actually, what is happening, she will be telling us in this edition. And still in sports to come in this edition of our sports, when B1 Magbayan Dufo joins me in the studio, we are going to talk about Fecafoot's move to launch youth football in the country. Stay tuned for this and more. Good afternoon, my name is Abel Bela Samari. We'll open our news as we talked about the 60th anniversary of National Youth Day in Cameroon, to tell you that the march past to mark the 60th edition of the National Youth Day in Cameroon have run up at the 20th May Boulevard here in Yaoundé. The colorful march past ceremony, which brought together peoples and students from across the nation political capital, was presided over by the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, Mununa Fosso. Details with our reporter, Finwi Crispin, who is standing by at the 20th May Boulevard.
About 11,819 persons have participated in this year's march past of the National Youth Day at the 20th May Boulevard in Yaoundé. Learners and youths from primary, secondary and higher institutions, vocational training centers, youth associations and SAT present. They animated the event with colorful march past organized in more than 10,000 squares. Majorettes, youngsters wearing several traditional regalia representing Cameroon's cultural diversity. The marchers during the parade chanted patriotic songs that transmitted messages of peace, unity, and no to violence, hatred, destruction, and hate speech. Moreover, they equally carried banners that sent out several patriotic messages. It is worth noting that the march past, which ended at about a few minutes past the hour of 12 p.m. at the 20th May Boulevard, despite the rainfall, was a success under the theme Youth at the Heart of Great Hope for a United, Stable and Prosperous Cameroon. Finwi Crispin reporting for Royal FM at the 20th May Boulevard.
Finwi Crispin is the chief of Reporters Brigade here at Royal 88.4 FM. She caught up with Fadima Tuyawa, President of the National Youth Council. Take a listen to what she has to say.
All the Cameroonian youth a happy celebration, because today we are celebrating the 60th edition of the National Youth. The young Cameroonian, despite of all challenges, has been able to come out massively so that to march past here to show their love for the country, but also their citizenship and their patriotism. So we are here to celebrate together and to congratulate all the Cameroonian youth for the effort, but also for the love that they are witnessing and showing to the country.
Our Chief of Brigade reporter Finwi Crispin equally caught up with Minister Mununa Fosso of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, who talked after the event.
It was a wonderful march past, as you see, boosted by the speech of the head of sales of yesterday, who asked young people to be committed, engaged in their actions. I think despite the rain, they employed themselves here in the 20th Boulevard in the wonderful march past marked by the celebration of the 60th anniversary of the Youth Day. The opening square, the different carousels organized along the trend of march past, showing the different decades of the 60th anniversary, the different moments marking this 60th anniversary. I think it was a wonderful march past by young Cameroonians that testified the talents of young Cameroonians, and now it's time for action in FOPS, as the head of state said, to build a united, stable and prosperous Cameroon.
From the Yaoundé 20th May Boulevard, we go over to Yaoundé 1 subdivision, where young Cameroonians have today, Wednesday, February the 11th, celebrated the 60th National Youth Day, a day characterized by cultural display and parades at the Lonkat neighborhood here in Yaoundé, under the leadership of the divisional officer for Yaoundé 1, who presides over the ceremony. Our reporter, Evans William Jobati, is on the line to Yaoundé 1.
Good afternoon to you and welcome to the Lonkak neighborhood here in Yaoundé, where the Diamond Jubilee of the 2026 National Youth Day has just ended despite the bad weather and the late start. Youths of the Yaoundé 1 subdivision happily and joyfully performed their civic duty in the presence of the divisional officer of the subdivision, Haruna Nyamji Mbatu, as well as other administrative authorities and traditional dignitaries. During the march past, youths who took center stage here presented an image of hope with the aim of building a prosperous Cameroon. Among the so many primary and secondary schools that took part in the parade, associations and political parties answered present. At the end of the numerous distinctions were awarded to the several schools, young inspiring youth and personalities equally received distinctions. Reporting live from the Lonkak neighborhood in Yaoundé, Evans William Jobati for the 2 p.m. news.
And on the microphone of Evans William Jobati, the divisional officer of Yaoundé 1, Haruna Nyamdi Mbatu, equally talked about the march past with appreciation coming from the different peoples and students who, despite the rain in the capital city Yaoundé, turn out en masse.
I'm very glad. I think that the youth of my subdivision remain committed behind the President of the Republic, and they are ready to take up challenges. Youth are involved in many activities, economic, social and sport. I urge all young people of my subdivision to follow the important advice that given yesterday by the President of the Republic in his important speech. And I think that the youth of this subdivision will bring an important part in the building of our country.
Still talking about Youth Day celebration activities marking the 60th Youth Day in Yaoundé 6 were carried out at the esplanade of the council Mendok, presided over by the divisional officer for Yaoundé 6, Joseph Alain Etudi, and attended by state officials, traditional rulers, heads of religious bodies, party militants, as well as school administrators. More on this, let's meet our reporter, Glory Hingange, who is standing by on the council Mendong. Glory, we are doing everything possible to get in touch with Glory, who watch or witness the march past at the Yaoundé 6 neighborhood here in Yaoundé, presided over by the divisional officer who in person, Joseph Alain Ntudi, who was accompanied by state officials, traditional rulers, heads of religious body. And we move over to Mendong neighborhood as we get in touch with Glory Ngange. Over to you, Glory. Okay, well, let us get equally the reaction of some students and people who equally talk on the microphone of Glory, who were so excited participating in this edition of the 60th edition of the National Youth Day. Take a listen to what they have to say.
I'm from 4, I'm a student of ERA. For this today, I think it was very nice, more than those last years, and I'm really enjoying it.
My name is Naomi and I march very well, good. My name is Jaba Fortuna. The march past was good and I think people were very happy to march. My name is Uma Beku. I enjoyed the past march. Thank you.
Among the onlookers who turned out today at the ceremonial ground in Yaoundé 6 subdivision were religious groups who came out to share the gospel of Christ, especially to the young people who came out and marched to march. Some of them shared the reason why they have to choose this day to carry out their evangelism on the microphone of Glory Gange.
My name is Happiness. Today we are coming out to preach the gospel of God because they choose us in groups that we should come out and preach the gospel of God. Those that have no belief so that they can take Christ in their life.
This is Evangelist Cletus Rifo of Salvation Baptist Church. We choose this day to come out and preach the gospel because we believe that the youth need Christ to be able to study well, avoid all the moral decadence that we are undergoing in our nation. When they have Christ, they'll be well behave, they will be exemplary in the society.
I'm River Brenda, and we chose this day because so many youths are out there. We'll have access to so many youths, and it's mostly to share God's word. Them know that Jesus loves them. Jesus came and died on the cross for them, to teach them, help them not to do the mistakes that so many of us did in the past.
Brother Elvis, we decided to come this morning to preach during this Youth Day celebration because everybody needs Jesus, even the young ones.
And over in Boya, in the southwest region, like in Douala, in the littoral region, people hold that rain disrupt Youth Day activities in that part of the country. The celebration of Youth Day come to a halt this February 11 in Boya and Douala due to heavy rainfall that occurred late in the morning in several areas designated for the march past of schools and youth movement. The unprecedented weather disrupted the rhythm of the performance, forcing participants and officials to adapt to new weather conditions. Until the sudden change in weather, the atmosphere had been festive and the event was proceeding smoothly without any major incident. You are listening to Royal Afternoon Edition, the 2 p.m. newscast, coming to you live from Royal 88.4 FM. Coming up.
I really do acknowledge the president's speech yesterday.
I didn't even have the time to listen to it. I just realized that the speech had already passed.
As tradition over the years, President Paul Biya has once again taken the opportunity to share his thoughts with the Cameroonian youth. In a televised address yesterday evening, the head of state delivered a special message to mark the 60th anniversary of Youth Day celebration in the country. In his address, President Paul Biya urged young Cameroonians to shun risks, endeavors to in search of greener pastures, and encourage them to nurture their talents while remaining optimistic about the future. Take a listen to an excerpt of President Paul Biya.
My dear young compatriots, when taking the oath of office, I made a solemn commitment before you and before the entire nation to devote all my energies for the advent of a stable, united and prosperous Cameroon. I intend to honor this commitment regardless of the difficulties and obstacles arising from an ever-increasingly challenging international environment. I am convinced that we will succeed in achieving this objective together, thanks to my unwavering determination, your courage, and your multiple talents. My dear young compatriots, I am aware that some of you are at a loss when you encounter difficulties in finding a job or achieving your goals. This prompts you to doubt the future and to give up on your dreams or embark on some dangerous venture. This can in no way be the solution. I encourage them to continue to be enterprising and forge ahead, no matter the difficulties and obstacles. This is the key to success.
President Paul Biya also extended his heartfelt appreciation to the Cameroonian youth for their massive support in the October 2025 presidential election, acknowledging that their vote played a pivotal role in securing his victory. Here is an excerpt of President Paul Biya's appreciation address selected for us by our reporter Ngang Nadesh.
Mes chers jeunes compatriotes,
my dear young compatriots, as I address you this evening, just a few months after my re-election as President of the Republic, I wish to express my deep satisfaction for the role you played in this election, and above all, to thank you most sincerely for your invaluable support, without which none of this would have been possible. I am aware that the key element in this particularly hard-fought election was undoubtedly the support of a large majority of young people for the vision for society, as well as your appreciation of the track record I presented. I am also sincerely believing that it reflects
a wind of emotions among the youth, while some hailed his words as inspiring, others dismiss them as disconnected from reality. Renat feels encouraged by the president's speech.
I really do acknowledge the president's speech yesterday. I see it as an encouragement for the president to acknowledge the fact that the youth have a place in the country. I see it as an encouraging factor for us to stand up and work for a better future.
Kelly, who has followed the president's speeches for years, chose to tune out this time, disenchanted by the gap between promises and tangible change in addressing their everyday struggles.
I've been following the president's speech for many years, and most of the time it's always just words. Everything ends on the paper as it is scripted. Nothing is always done at the end of the day, or maybe a little is done from the many things that he says on that day. So I didn't even listen again this time around. I didn't bother myself to listen to the numerous promises that is going to be said that none of them will be fulfilled.
She adds that while others were glued to the speech, she stayed tuned out, indifferent to the familiar rhetoric that has not translated to real change for her and many like her.
I didn't even have the time to listen to it. I just realized that the speech had already passed and people were posting on social media. I was like, oh, there was supposed to be a speech today. I didn't even listen because the times that I've been listening, I've not seen any change. It's always been words. So I didn't even bother myself to listen this time around.
Cameroon has been celebrating National Youth Day on February 11 since 1966, a tradition marked by a presidential speech. As the nation marks this milestone again, reactions to President Biya's address highlight the enduring gap between youthful aspirations and government actions.
Gangnadesh in that report. President Paul Biya has called on young people to embrace entrepreneurship and vocational training as key tool for tackling unemployment. He equally come back on some decisions taken on behalf of young entrepreneurs, such as tax exemption to business recruiting young graduates, as well as the 50 billion francs CFA provided for in the finance law.
My
dear young compatriots, I am aware that some of you are at a loss when you encounter difficulties in finding a job or achieving your goals. This prompts you to doubt the future and to give up on your dreams or embark on some dangerous venture. This can in no way be the solution. I encourage them to rather persevere. I encourage them to continue to trust their abilities.
I encourage them to continue to be enterprising and forge ahead, no matter the difficulties and obstacles. This is the key to success. My dear young compatriots, I promised you in my recent speeches that your integration into the labor market would be one of the main priorities of this 7-year term. In this regard, I would like to mention, among other things, tax exemptions granted to businesses that recruit young graduates.
And in that regard, our reporter Jeffrey Tatum has been talking to some economics to better understand the economic language of President Paul Biya's speech.
After the head of state's address to the youth, economists are divided on its relevance and credibility. For Valerie Asundep, there was a layer of change that brought a breath of fresh air to his speech as compared to previous years.
In all sincerity, I think that this time around, the head of state speech is kind of different from what it used to be. It used to seem like a blanket statement, but this time around, the head of state is calling for the youth to be courageous and to dive into entrepreneurial spirit where they'll be able to provide jobs for other people. The head of state is calling for a change that vocational training should be at the forefront of our education, which is going to help us to become the entrepreneurs of tomorrow.
However, the expert has questions concerning the transparency in distributing these funds.
There is no clear path as to what will be done with this money, who will receive it, so it is still a question of how, what, and when, which is still hanging in the air. However, I do not believe, or I do not think that this money should be distributed to anyone. The government should identify key national projects and invest in these projects in such a way that is going to generate employment for the youths, and this employment is going to generate revenue.
Meanwhile, Henry Kwam regrets that most policies that have been put in place to support youth-led businesses have not yielded tangible benefits. Therefore, the president's speech does not sit right with him.
It's important for us to address the issue of transparency and accountability whilst ensuring that we improve the system as a whole to make it easier to do business, to make it easier to register, to start your business, easier to pay taxes, easier to declare your taxes without having to go through complex procedures, easier for you to do your tax returns and get any rebates that you need to. All of these are vital to ensure that we have a well-functioning entrepreneurial ecosystem.
In these regards, a set of measures are expected from public authorities for better implementation of the head of state's promises to the youth. Seraphim Baga, research analyst at the Cameroon Economic Policy Institute.
It's important for us to address the issue of transparency and accountability whilst ensuring that we improve the system as a whole to make it easier to do business, to make it easier to register, to start your business, easier to pay taxes, easier to declare your taxes without having to go through complex procedures, easier for you to do your tax returns and get any rebates that you need to. All of these are vital to ensure that we have a well-functioning entrepreneurial ecosystem.
The president's message highlights the opportunities available to young Cameroonians, but the real test will be to turn this initiative into tangible jobs and sustainable growth.
Jeffrey Tatum in that report, and will take you to the human interest story. A strategic road accident has claimed the life of 5 people on the Kribi-Edeya route. A public transport bus registered CE54DB collided with a trailer truck in the Bivoba village located in the Lokonje district. Authorities report that the crash resulted in immediate fatalities, adding to concern over road safety on this busy highway. This marked the second deadly accident on the Kribi-Edeya route within 72 hours. On February the 8th, 2026, another bus was involved in a severe collision with a timber truck, leaving 6 people dead. The series of accidents has sparked renewed call for local officials and transport authorities for stricter traffic regulation and enhanced road safety measures to prevent further strategies. We take you to this other information. Today is being observed globally as the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, adopted by the United Nations General Assembly to promote equal participation of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. The theme for this year is Energizing AI, Social Science, STEM, and Finance, Building Inclusive Futures for Women and Girls, putting the 4 domain as a 4-pillar approach to accelerate inclusive and sustainable development throughout the globe. And let's welcome our senior reporter, editor-in-chief Mapala Zita, who has joined me with an international file this afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Mapala Zita.
Good afternoon, Abel.
Zita, we begin in Zambia, where over $1.3 million in assets have been seized from ex-President Lungu's son.
Zambia's High Court has ordered the forfeiture of assets worth more than $1.3 million belonging to the son of former President Edgar Lungu in a ruling that intensifies scrutiny of the former First Family amid an ongoing standoff with the government. The Economic and Financial Crimes Division ruled on Tuesday that Dalitso Lungu failed to provide credible evidence showing how he lawfully acquired 79 vehicles and 23 properties, including a shopping mall, petrol station, luxury apartment, and an executive residence in Lusaka. The court found that his employment history and income were insufficient to justify the scale of his assets. Dalitso's lawyers have indicated that they will appeal the ruling, Abel.
And equally, let's move over to Ghana, where I want to find out from you, Zita, why the Ghana government decided to declare Wednesday as Fugu Day.
Well, Abel, Ghana designated every Wednesday as a day to wear the country's traditional outfit, the fugu, just days after it sparked an online debate with Zambians. The garment gained prominence last week when President John Dramani Mahama wore it during a state visit to Zambia, where some people mockingly called it a blouse, prompting a fierce response from Ghanaians online. Ghana's tourism minister Ablandifa Gomeshie said yesterday that wearing the outfit every week would project the country's identity with pride on the global stage.
And out of the African continent, what is making news, Mapala Zita?
Police in Canada say a mass shooting at a high school in the province of British Columbia has left at least 10 people dead, including the suspected attacker. In a statement yesterday, the police said 6 people were found dead in the secondary school in the small town of Tumbula Ridge, while another person died on the way to hospital and 2 other bodies were found at a home. The police have not mentioned how many of the victims may have been minors. And then a close ally of Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has been placed on the house arrest barely a few hours after his release from prison. He was actually placed on the house arrest yesterday. Juan Pablo Guanipa, former National Assembly Vice President, was released just a day ago, and after spending more than 8 months in jail for vague charges often levied against government critics, including terrorism, money laundering, and inciting violence. Back to you, Abel.
And thank you so very much, Mapala Zita. Mapala Zita is a senior reporter, editor-in-chief here at Royal 88.4 FM. You continue to be our eyes and ear on all that is making news out of the country. As you unseat yourself, let's welcome B1 Mark Brian Dufo, who is here with our Wednesday Spot Fire. Good afternoon to you, Brian.
Good afternoon, Abel.
And let us begin. We'll talk about the landmark occasion celebrations of Cameroon's 60th National Youth Day, where President Paul Biya addressed, maintained a conspicuous silence regarding the sports sector. This omission has left the industry stakeholders and analysts uneasy, fueling concern over the welfare and the privatization of the nation athletes. And in order to uncover the impact of these oversights, you consulted some stakeholders in the sports sector, and that tells us their view.
For decades, sports has been a primary vehicle for Cameroon's international prestige and a vital lifeline for its burgeoning on youth population. As the country marked its milestone of the 60th National Youth Day, the expected roadmap for sport was notably absent from the highest level of discourse. President Paul Biya's address, traditionally a compass from the year's national's priorities, steered clear of the pitches, tracks, and courts that define the daily lives of millions. For some, it felt like a strategic omission that has left the future of the nations, the indomitable spirit, hanging in a balance. The question remains, is sport still a national priority, or has it become a footnote in the state's agenda? Durel Batinga and Kidiga Fabrice.
I think the omission suggests that sport is not viewed as an urgent priority within the broader national agenda. There are very, very pressing security, economic governance issues at this point in time. President Paul Biya is one who has always placed a special attachment on sport. So him not talking about sport at this particular point in time means that there are very, very important issues. That does not also mean that he is satisfied with the current state of sport in the nation. Remember that there are various sports federations who are in charge of this sports federation. So a presidential speech should not be the yard to measure success or to measure progress. You know, President Biya is a technocrat and he talks the most important pressing need.
For the president to omit sports in 2 consecutive speeches, I don't think it is to say that everything is all right with sports in the country or if sports is going wrong. I think that there are other pressing issues that seem to overshadow his judgment for sports at the moment.
And we come back to talk about football. B1 Magbaye and Dufour will talk about the Cameroon Football Federation FECAFOOT plan to launch youth football in the country.
Fulfilling a key campaign promise to revitalize youth football in Cameroon, the Cameroon Football Federation has officially launched the FIFA TDS Under-17 Elite Championship. The announcement came on Tuesday during a high-profile ceremony at the CAF Excellence Center in Bankomo, led by Frank Happy, advisor to FECAFOOT President and National Technical Director Angebelt Mbarga. This ambitious tournament will feature 54 academies spanning all 10 regions of Cameroon, organized in 4 zones, including the Center-South-East Zone, the Littoral and Southwest Zone, the West and Northwest Zone, and the Adamawa Far North Zone. The set competition will be overseen by the Youth Football League, with a format that entails progression from zonal qualifiers to a Grand National Final in May 2026. The aim of the competition is to create a sustainable talent pool for future national teams, a move widely lauded by academy promoters.
And also tell us the backpedaling of the Cameroon Football Federation concerning the decision over the management of Clive Football Club of SAR.
In a swift policy reversal, FECAFOOT has reinstated Christian Onana and his executive committee to lead a clear football fee of SAR. The decision follows a formal request from the family of the club's late owner, Jean-Leonard Mbogo-Ngolo, who questioned the necessity of a professional management team. The Secretary General's office officially reinstated a previous mandate establishing a provisional committee to ensure the club's imminent resumption of activities, and as such, Onana's team will now manage the club until pending legal disputes are resolved by the Cameroon Football Federation. Also, FECAFOOT has urged the board to immediately finalize player licenses to avoid further competitive delays for the club that didn't feature in the match day 1 game for the Guinness Women's Super League.
And thank you so very much, B1 Magbaye and Dufour. We welcome Dema Olivier Epo, who is here with a summary of these newscasts in the French language. Good afternoon to you, Olivier.
Bon après-midi et belle Bella Samari. La fête nationale de la jeunesse édition 2026 se célèbre ce jour, 11 février. Un défilé constitué pour l'essentiel de jeunes a été organisé dans chaque commune d'arrondissement de Yaoundé et dans d'autres localités du pays. La fête de la jeunesse est à sa 60e édition et a pour thème « Jeunesse au cœur des grandes espérances pour un Cameroun stable et prospère ». Hors de nos frontières, le gouvernement du Ghana impose le port du fougou ou batakari, un vêtement traditionnel arboré dans le nord du pays. Le vêtement, confectionné à partir de bandes de tissu tissées à la main, devra être arboré chaque mercredi. Il est question pour le ministère de la Culture du Ghana de célébrer la richesse culturelle du pays, également de soutenir les créateurs de mode, stylistes et artisans. Sport pour finir, la Fédération camerounaise de football, c'est la FECAFOOT, met en place une nouvelle compétition sportive pour les catégories jeunes du football. Le tournoi a officiellement été lancé hier lors d'une cérémonie au centre d'excellence de la CAF en Bankomo. Ce faisant, l'instance fêtière du football camerounais veut donner une impulsion nouvelle et plus professionnelle au football jeune au Cameroun.
And it is with that summary in the French language that we wrap up this edition of our 2 p.m. newscast. More newscasts will be yours at 6 p.m. Royal Swabileng. And the team keeping you company this afternoon, we have Irish Kemu. He is our sound engineer plus our copyright clerk. Our community manager on our Facebook page is Mr. Boris Mbida Bayan. Is our video editor on our YouTube page, Royal FM Cameroon. The news was produced by Ngang Nadesh, news edited by Mapala Zita, under the coordination of our own Director General, Roger Kiek. General supervision was ensured by Reverend Pastor Bisa Emmanuel Noel. For presentation and editorial coaching, my name is Abel Bela Samari, and sitting next to me is B1 McBrien Dufour for a special edition or another edition of the program Sport R. Good afternoon to you once again.
Good afternoon, Abel.
On the menu?
Yes, today is Youth Day, and definitely we are going to do something in that regard. We have a panel that is made up of youths who are in a way actors of sports, so we are going to be getting from them how exactly youths can benefit from the domain of sports, and we are going to coin other topics that are going to be related to these youth days. Notably, we are going to have a few players or one player too who plays in our championship to share experience as a youth playing in a championship that has veterans and all that.
Listen, now don't move a muzzle. Up next is Sports R with B1 McBrien Dufour and his team. Stay blessed in the company of Royal 88.4 FM. Happy Youth Day to you all.